Hey, it's Letitia Richay. Welcome back to my channel. I was tired of looking homeless, so I fixed myself up, gave myself a little razzle dazzle for y'all. But let's get into the Real Housewives of Atlanta, season 16, episode 2. The last episode ended with Porsha running, crying in the hallway about Dennis working with Drew. Make it make sense. We'll talk more about that in a little bit. But let's just kick off how this episode started. It started with Britt Edie. And her husband preparing a family dinner. She really does favor Nicki Minaj, doesn't she? I've seen a lot of people saying it on the first episode, and I think so. Let me pull up a little picture of Nicki Minaj and see what we see in here. Yeah. Hey, but what y'all think? Hop down in the comments and let me know. I really feel like she has a lot of work done. I'm not sure if it was done to look like Nicki Minaj, but she really does look like her. Not so much on this picture. I should have picked a different one, but she does look like her. Despite the surgery, clearly she's a beautiful woman. This thing opens up with Britt talking about in her teenage years, she was in music videos. She was a video vixen. She was dating rappers. To me, she seems like a huge clout chaser. She name dropped Rick Ross being one of the people that she seriously dated. I realized how nasally she sounds. She sounds like she has Angela Oakley's nose, right? It's real nasally, like, yes, I met my husband once. She sounds like that. And the nose looks like it could be traded for the other girl's nose just because of how she sounds. But then she goes on after bragging about her past life and how she was a video vixen and dating all of these rappers. She goes on to say then she met her husband. His name's Mike, how very laid back he was, how calm he was. And that's what attracted her because it was different from the men that she's experienced prior. She sits down for dinner with her family and she's discussing her first impressions of all the ladies. And of course, they talk about Kenya the most. She felt like Kenya was shading her on the first episode about her ring. If I'm not mistaken, Kenya only asked her, hey, also, are you married? Because she was like, this is my new ring. This is my new ring. You know, in true Brit fashion, I see that's who she's going to be, the braggadocious type. And she didn't have a wedding band on. So I think that's the reason why Kenya was asking the questions in that manner. She's like, well, are you married? Are you engaged? What is it? And Britt took that as Kenya being shady. But I know Kenya is, they call her the shade assassin. I know she can be shady, but I really truly didn't feel like this was shady. If Kenya wanted to shade you, she would have most definitely done it and made it more apparent. What y'all think though? Because I don't know. Britt goes on further to talk about her starting her own insurance agency. And she mentioned that she did this because her father died. And when he died, her mom was not able to get the $2 million life insurance policy that he had for them due to certain reasons. So that was the fuel to her fire in creating her own insurance agency. She touches on her relationship with her two sisters. I'm guessing that she employed her two sisters when she started the employment agency. And ever since then, they've kind of been on a rocky road, in which that's apparent. Anytime you mix family and business, sometimes it doesn't work. I feel like family doesn't really respect, taking order from a family member. I think that could be a pretty common issue. They go into Porsha meeting up with Kelly to kind of discuss their beef. I like Kelly's personality. I really do think that she's authentic. She reminds me a lot of Kenya when she first came on the Real Housewives scene. She's another one who the internet tore up. They tore Britt up and they tore Kelly up. They said there was a lot of surgery happening. And I'm not opposed to surgery. I done had a nip tuck myself. I done had a tummy tuck, yes. So whatever. Um, but when you get touching your face, you have to be very, very careful because even Toya Bush Harris went on that show and said it was a lot of fillers and Botox going on in the Real Housewives of Atlanta streets. And she was in line. But I do like Kelly. Let's stay on task. Porsha and Kelly sat down and they talked about how Shamea brought their prior conversation back to Porsha, saying that Kelly asked her, why did that girl steal? Why did your friend steal that woman's man? And that was absolutely the truth. I'm not sure why Porsha is bringing it to Kelly. Like, so did Shamea tell you to check me at the party? I'm not sure why that's the road that she's taking to try to say that Shamea brought it to her in a messy way. But I'm just looking at it like this. Had Shamea not brought it to you at all, that would have been a problem, right? Then you would have been like, she's not a real friend because she didn't tell me somebody was talking about me. Now that she did bring it to you, it's a problem because she did. So you need to choose a battle. What do you want it to be? So it's a damned if she do, damned if she don't type of situation. Porsha gives me hater energy. She's always giving me hater energy from the time her sister got pregnant when she wanted a baby. She couldn't even be fully happy for her sister. You could see it all over her face. And you can't ever expect to get a blessing if you can't be excited for somebody else's. Your time will come, sweetheart. But unfortunately, it's going to be delayed if you can't be happy for someone else's. She gives me that one up you mentality. Like if you do something, she has to do it bigger. And I really do think that's what she was doing with Simon. I feel like she knew Shamea had a good African Nigerian man. I'm not sure what origin, but I feel like she wanted one too. She saw everybody and she saw Fallon's lifestyle specifically, and she wanted what that woman had. She waltzed a big ass in that lady house, small waist and shaking that shit everywhere in front of that man. Ain't gonna do this. Oh, nice to meet you. I feel like Porsha was probably checking that man out ever since she saw that lady's house. She was dead ass wrong, and now she's reaping what she's sowing. But at the end of that dinner lunch with Kelly, her and Porsha were able to get on a good foot, and I guess they are on a onward and upward to kind of get to know each other. So I guess their beef was squashed, and now she's projecting what Kelly said onto Shamea, but we shall see. Drew Sidora. Let's talk about how good Drew looks this season. She really does look really good. Her music does sound really good. It's definitely a step up from the last season. And I like the last season songs, but this season you can definitely see improvement. Drew was in the studio on this scene, and Kenya, Cynthia, and Angela Oakley were also in the studio with Drew. And they were discussing with Drew, her divorce and how she's feeling and how they could be there for her. Cynthia even talked about her divorce and how nasty it can be, so just giving her that kind of shoulder to lean on. One thing about this show with Drew is that the producers are always gonna show that Drew is in fact a liar. She talked about how her and Dennis never talk on the phone, but the producers pulled up her talking to Dennis on the phone. She also talked about how her and Dennis are not close. She has Dennis saved in her phone as Dennis, bro. Come on now, Drew. They also in this thing, what I do appreciate is that Kenya telling Drew, like, hey, Drew, I love you, but you're working with Dennis without telling Porsha is some shady ass shit. I like the fact that Kenya could just keep it a book with her and let her know that was grimy. Now, despite Porsha doing the exact same thing but worse by going in that lady's house and then popping up in the next 3 months with her man and marrying him, this is still wrong, Drew. This is still wrong. But Drew went on to say, oh no, in Drew fashion. Oh no, but I tried to text her. And she pulled up these strings of text messages. So I texted her on May 2nd. She responded on May 15th. I texted her, hey girl, I would love to chat, something to talk to you about. Then I didn't get a response. So I texted her back in August, like August 3rd. And she didn't text me back to September 5th. Drew, cut the shit. Drew, cut the bullshit. You knew goddamn well if you wanted to get that message to Porsha, if you truly wanted to get that message to Porsha, you could have got that message to Porsha. Why would you be sending dead end text messages saying, "Hey, wanna talk to you about something? Hey, wanna talk to you about something?" Why not just be proactive? Get in your text message and say, "Hey, Porsha, just wondering if Dennis ran it past you that he was going to be producing on my album. I just wanted to make sure it was okay that you, or at least just let you know and extend the courtesy of letting you know that we're going to be working together. I just want to make sure that we are good in moving forward this season." Simple as that. If you didn't want to call, because I feel like you could have been quicker with a call, but you did neither of those. You did neither of those. So that leads me to believe, Drew, you didn't care if she knew or not, and you wanted this mess. You wanted this mess. You knew that girl was gonna feel some kind of way about you working with her ex-husband. I don't think you would feel good if one of them ladies was brought Ralph on as their friend. You would be pissed. So you got to be careful when you do that kind of work, Drew. You really do. And Porsha wants it, and Drew is wrong. Let's just say that. Let's just say that. But a part of me can't even stop wearing Porsha ass out for what she did. I ain't gonna wear her out no more. I'm gonna let go and let her have. Um, Angela. Let's talk about Angela for a moment with the LaToya Jackson nose. That's what Shamea called it. She is so desperately trying to build this fake beef with Shamea, all because Shamea asked Drew, "Hey, Drew, I wouldn't be myself if I didn't ask. So are you and Dennis dating?" That is what Shamea asked. Now, LaToya, damn, I done called the damn lady LaToya. Now, Angela Oakley took it upon her damn self to be offended by it. But why is that important to you, Angela? Why are you beefing with me about me asking Drew something? I don't understand. I feel like she's a bit desperate. She's parched and she needs some peach juice. She was trying to insinuate that Shamea asked Drew if her and Dennis were sleeping together. But production clocked it and in fact showed the clip of just her asking if they were dating. So Angela, if that was what had your panties was in a bunch, baby, she didn't say that. She asked if they were dating. And I think that's a valid question. So moving right along to Shamea. Shamea sat down with her sisters in this episode, just kind of thanking them for being there with her throughout the struggles with her youngest daughter, Shiloh, and also for helping her out with her oldest daughter, Shia. Shia recently had her tonsils removed, so they showed a little bit of that, which was cute. And Shamea kind of broke down in tears, talking about how this has kind of been a hard chapter of her life, and how although she goes through these things, she still tries to maintain her lifestyle, going out with her friends and still trying to be there for other people, even though she's probably going through the worst season of her life. And so for that, I think that Shamea is very strong. She seems like a very all around girl, and I really like that. And one thing about Shamea, and I said the same thing about Nene. When Nene came on this show, she was fun, she was vibrant. She didn't have a lot, but she had a lot of personality, which built her to the Nene that we love. And but as you can see, as she made it to that last season, she was somebody completely different. She was torn down, and I'm not saying that it was the show, but I'm just hoping that if it was the show for Shamea, that it does not dim her light. I hope that it does not take away her joyful, happy, go lucky self. So that's what I hope for Shamea. And if Shamea can maintain herself well and keep her composure and keep her posture, I think she could, she could reign long for a long time on the Real Housewives of Atlanta. I would talk about Angela Oakley showing the property that she's renovated, but I really don't care. I'm more so interested in her talking about her husband, Charles Oakley, wants to renew their vows. But it's me, or he just don't give that he's that interested in her. He does not give me that he's that interested in her. Who does he remind me of? The way he's outspoken kind of reminds me of Peter, but I just don't give a fuck. Who does that remind me of? No, actually, husband from Potomac, like he just grabbing ass and just don't give a damn that he married. He just He doesn't give me that he really wants to renew his vows with you, Angela, because one second in that scene, you are begging him to go to therapy. And I'm just going to go out on a limb and say her and Britt Edie are very desperate when it comes to, you know how somebody tries to throw something on you to convince you that their marriage is good, to convince you that they're happy, and it just doesn't seem authentic? That's what Britt and Angela gives me. Because we're talking about this man want to hurry up and renew their vows, but you begging him to go to therapy. That lets me know that this marriage is not going to last those 5 to 10 years that you were talking about. And I'm typically right when I say these marriages don't be lasting. The only time I was wrong, I think I said it about Todd and Candy, but it wasn't because I didn't think that they had staying power. It was because of her mom constantly disrespecting him and Candy not saying anything about it. And I understand the type of how Candy was her upbringing. I completely understand it, where we feel like we can't check our parents, but you in fact can. So that was the only reason I didn't think that they would make it, and I'm so happy to see them still together. They make an awesome team. They make a beautiful couple. And shout out to Candy. She been killing it lately with those Instagram posts. She been slaying wherever the hell she is. I think she in New York for her play Othello, but she been killing it. So nonetheless, Angela Oakley, I don't see another 5 years, let alone 10, with you in this marriage. If you can't get this man to go to therapy, you can't convince me that this thing has staying power. I just don't believe it. Please pitch it to somebody else. Oh, this is a really good thing that I like. Probably one of my favorite things in this episode. It was with Drew. Drew meeting with her attorney. Drew met with her attorney to discuss the divorce, of course, with Ralph. She mentioned that she can't wait for the divorce to be over and finalized because she would like to sell the home. You know, she would like to put the home up for sale. But the attorney said that they couldn't even proceed with the divorce until Ralph relinquishes his financial records. How long have they been going through this divorce? A whole 2 years at this point. They don't even have his financial records, and that just leads me to believe that his Drew and your ass knew it. You know finances. The attorney said when they requested the documents from Ralph, all of the documents that he sent over were things pertaining to Drew's finances. So the question is, why does this man have, I know y'all married, but why does this man have access to all of your finances and you don't know what he does and you don't have access to one of his finances, which further leads me to my conclusion that he just don't have none. And you knew this. You knew this. We got to make better choices, Drew. Now, one thing we do know for a fact is that Drew is a liar, just based on the things that we've seen. However, one thing I can never do is call Drew a dummy. Drew is not dumb. In fact, Drew is very smart. She's one of those people like Dr. Heavenly that can be on this platform for 10 years, and I promise you by that 11th year, you don't know a damn thing about Drew. I'm telling you, and that, wow, that signifies that you are very guarded. It's also very smart that you really don't have to give much of anything. You know what I'm saying? And you can kind of maintain this relationship with this network. But she's definitely not dumb. And that's why I say she's smart. But some of the things that her attorney revealed about the situation with Ralph was very telling. And it was very disturbing. She said that no financial records for him. She has proof that women were texting her phone. She has text messages, secular text messages of Ralph engaging with other women. She has proof that he was stealing Drew's money. And I'm not quite sure that it's considered stealing, seeing that they are married. But if she say he stole, damn it, he stole. Because obviously he ain't got no damn money if he can't provide his records. So in hearing these things, I kind of respect Drew a little bit more because she could be out here dragging his ass, y'all. She could really be out here dragging Ralph, but she hasn't said a word. She hasn't said a word. That could be her storyline. But she, for some reason, like Dr. Evelyn, she's not going to share this shit. She don't. I just don't know what it is with Drew. And I said since Drew first came on this show, I wish she was more transparent because I think she is very likable if she would just start being herself. But at this point, I'm thinking that she's making a conscious decision not to show us who she really is. in that retrospect. All of those things that attorney said about Ralph to me were very scary, to think that she's still stuck with this damn man living in her fucking basement. I hope that she learned something from this. I really do hope that she learned something from this marriage. In every situation, I hope that I got some things that I'm trying to learn from right now. So I really do hope that she learns from this. I hope that she can get this damn thing wrapped up so she can get that sorry ass man out of her damn basement and he can get his sorry ass in his own house, in his own damn basement to record that sorry ass podcast. Talk about some damn rap in the basement. He done pissed me off. Moving along. Porsha and her mom Diane. They went to a spa and Porsha starts just talking about how she's so appreciative of her mom being there for her during this divorce because it's a very trying time for her. She also goes on to mention that this divorce is very different from her first divorce to Cordell. She mentioned that the first divorce was a little bit more collaborative. They went through it together as opposed to this divorce. They are like enemies and nothing has been collaborative. She mentioned that where Simon is from, the family usually intervenes. And I think he's from Benin. She said that in the U.S., the courts handle the divorce, but on Simon's side in Benin, the family usually intervenes. Porsha also said that she reached out to the family, and them damn folks said, hey, we don't want zero to do with this shit. You let the courts handle it. Who can blame them, Porsha? And she tried to force a damn tear out. And you know we wouldn't believe in it. Porsha, you ain't mad to be divorcing this man. The moment you realized that his coin was not gold, your ass was out of there. Don't act like you. I don't know if she was trying to get his family to intervene so that they can talk about the divorce in a reasonable manner, or she was trying to talk with them so maybe they can figure out some type of reconciliation. I don't believe that at all. So it had to be the earlier, not the later. This is this damn man's fifth marriage. And Porsha, you went into it knowing that this was his damn fifth marriage. What made you thought you was gonna be a keeper? What made you think that y'all had some staying power? I don't understand what you thought about that because you definitely came. You probably convinced all the millions of followers you got that you was in love with Simon. But I didn't buy that shit not 1 minute. But I do know that I don't know what picture you trying to paint of Simon, and we can all formulate our own opinions on this man because he done been up and down the internet dragging your ass the same way you've been trying to drag him. But what I will say is, if my spidey senses are correct, and truly sometimes they are on people like you, that man is acting like a devil because you have hurt him. God forbid this man truly thought that Porsha with that little old waist and that big old ass really wanted his little ugly bald head ass. It ain't no way in hell he thought that Porsha could have really wanted him. There's no way. He can't convince me, but maybe he did. And when you hurt somebody to the magnitude that you probably hurt him, when you found out his chips were down and you tried to get on out, yes, that man is probably mad. So I'm just saying, we don't know what's the truth, but I'm just going by what I know of Porsha. I don't think that Simon just broke bad on you. I think that he felt what we already knew, that you were using him, and now he wants you to hurt the same way that he is hurting. That's end of story. Now, Porsha and her mom also sat there, and Porsha told her this same little story about Shamea, saying that, yeah, Shamea called me wanting to get me out of the house, but then when I came to her party, she proceeded to lead the charge for the girl Kelly to attack me about why I married Simon. And I'm like, if you and Shamea have this long-standing friendship, do you think that that is in her character? Maybe you do. But again, like I said, she was damned if she do, damned if she don't. You would have been mad at her if she wouldn't have told you, and now you mad at her because she did. And Miss Diane's take on it was, Be careful of the dog who brings the bone. What more do we expect though? This Porsha mama, the reason that Porsha is like she is because of her mama. And whole time I couldn't keep my eyes off Miss Diane face lip looking like it's trying to unlift. It looked like it was falling off. Her wig met where the facelift was at, somewhere around here, looked like it. And it looked like it was all falling. It was a whole big fail to me. Why don't people just get old? Just get old. That's what life is all about, living. But when you go messing up your face, since we're talking about this is the cast look like with the most face work, I don't care what you do with your body. It's yours. You make your own decisions. And I definitely don't want to shame anybody because I too have had a few surgeries, right? Like I had breast reduction. I had something to neither here nor there. Get old. Be okay with having wrinkles, but be looking good on these Photoshop pictures. And don't get me wrong, she is a good looking black woman. She looks good, but that face looked like it was falling. And I'm just gonna say that, and I'm gonna leave it right there. Kelly. Kelly had her mommy and me event, and this is to raise awareness for osteogenesis imperfecta, which is a disorder characterized by the fragility of the bones. So her daughter has this illness, right? And she did mention in the previous episode that when she took her daughter to the hospital, they were accusing her of abuse because she had not yet been diagnosed with osteogenesis imperfecta, right? So I'm assuming she went in with a fractured bone or something of that nature. That's what I'm just gonna assume. On a side note, I loved Kelly's outfit. I didn't love it on her, but I love the outfit. She hosted her event at Balmain. I think I'm saying it right. So everyone continues to arrive. Porsha and Shamea faking the funk. I don't know if it's forced, if I can see the forcedness of that relationship, because we know that from the street that there's trouble in paradise in their friendship. I don't know if it's obvious or I just noticed it because I know it's out there, right? That was just a little side note. Angela's at the event talking to Cynthia, asking if she should approach Shamea about their previous encounter. Again, Angela just seems desperate. She's fishing for a storyline. She's fishing for purpose, and I hope she finds it in another area because this definitely isn't even worth the conversation. And I'm just gonna skip right over her until I need to talk about it. Drew then arrives, and someone was asking Drew if she's gonna have a conversation with Porsha, and Drew's like, "Oh no, I'm not gonna go just seeking a conversation. If it happens organically, it happens." But Drew is going to proceed later to do the complete opposite. Shamea sees Drew. She approaches Drew and she apologizes to Drew, saying, "Hey, there's no hard feelings about, I hope there's no hard feelings about me asking you that about Dennis, but I truly just wanted to make sure that there was no funny business going on. And if you were dating Dennis, that you were just honest so we can just nip it in the bud, because there are rumors out there in the streets." And Shamea brought it to her, but I do appreciate the fact that she cleared it up with Drew and just letting her know that it's no tension. I just asked the question. So that was that. Um, Angela, Boogie, I'm recording. Okay, I'm about to cook. Okay, see what I'm saying? Again. So the shade between Angela approaches Shamea. Angela approaches Shamea and discusses what happened between them. So Angela's like, "Hey, Shamea, I know we got off on the wrong foot." And Shamea was like, "Oh, yes, we did." And I feel like she was open to kind of talking to her if it was going to lead to a solution, right? But Angela proceeded to say, "Well, I just feel like you was being Portia's lapdog. She don't need you to speak for her." And Shamea was like, "It's not about that. I honestly wanted to know because the streets talking. So I asked her. It shouldn't be that big of a deal." So they get to exchanging non-pleasantries, and she called her Michael Jackson. What's her name? Latoya Jackson knows, and then she proceeds to call Shamea Flavor Flav. Now, for me, now I know that Shamea dressed up like Flavor Flav 2 or 3 years ago. So was Angela going through Shamea's pictures at the time or did she just before she realized she was going to be filming this show, stop? I had to check my child just like this. I don't know if she went through all of Shamea's pictures to know that Shamea dressed up like Flavor Flav, or I don't know if it was just an insult because Shamea is a darker complexion. I don't know, but I felt like the streets of Twitter was gonna drag her. I ain't even been on there to see what the streets saying, but I initially and probably still do have an inkling of a feeling that she just called her Flavor Flav based on Shamea's complexion, which is gonna be a problem. You know, the US of the A is very sensitive these days, and you have to watch what you say. So they continue to throw their shade, and we'll see where that goes. Drew then approaches Porsha and asks her, "Oh, so you want to talk to me?" And then went in her confessional saying that Porsha texted her saying that she wanted to have a conversation. Porsha is like, this energy from Drew is kind of off. So she's looking around and she notices Drew's sister Allison is there. And so now she realizes why Drew came with this energy. Because if you know Drew, that's not her style. Drew would have sat down, waited on Porsha to say something to her, and then she would have been like, "Oh, I know, maybe I would know about this." You know, she does this damsel in distress, acting like she damn dumb, but she in fact is not. And Porsha, of course, she took flight. Porsha didn't want to even get into it with her at this ladies' event. I think Porsha knows that Drew is full of shit, and that's why she left. So that concluded the episode, y'all. So on the upcoming episode, I saw the preview for it. On the upcoming show, Drew is going to be talking to Ralph. Kenya is going to be announcing her hair spa grand opening. I thought it already opened, y'all. Correct me if I'm wrong. Hit me. We see Britt and Kenya fall out. I wonder, is this the beginning of the end? Or I wonder, is this the beginning they're going to make up and they're going to have another falling out, which is going to lead to the big hoochamaga at the end, which got Kenya fired. So I'm hoping that they will delve deeper into this and really develop this story, because there has to be, we need to see why Kenya was kicked off. I feel like if it was going on in them streets and all the bloggers got all the tea, they need to show it so we can know if it's validated. But given how Britt is, I can see more people than just Kenya falling out with her. Now, I'm not sure if they're going to resort to showing those photos that Kenya did, but I can see that she's going to be very unlikable. And I hope I'm wrong. I'm looking forward to the rest of the season. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed my commentary. And until next time, I will see you then. So fucked up. So fucked up.